Ekiti State as citizens of voters are ready, gearing up for decision day to determine who becomes the next governor of the state. A mother and sister of a slain bandit leader has been jailed 40 years for their involvement in what the court has said is an act of terrorism. They were jailed over 5 counts on terrorism-related. Hello everyone, welcome to Channels Television's election studio right here in Ekiti, the Ekiti state capital, where we're monitoring and covering for you the Ekiti governorship election 2026. I'm Sean Wakimbaloe, and thank you so much everyone for joining this special edition of the program. The people of Ekiti State, a crucial state in the southwest Nigeria, a litmus test for INEC, security agencies, and the nation of Nigeria on our electoral process and our democracy. It's a very crucial test also for our electoral law 2026, as was amended. A lot of controversies around that law. But again, this election is an assurance that Nigerians will be looking forward to whether or not 2027 election will bring some hope or, well, distrust in the process or the electoral umpire, and this will determine all of that for you. And Channel Television, your leading broadcaster in the land, is on the ground with our reporters combing every of the 16 local government areas of the state and bringing you all the information, putting eyes on the security preparations and deployment, INEC and its activities, and of course what the civil society organization, the voters and other stakeholders, what they will be doing. We are the hub, bringing all the information, the data, the statistics, and making sense of all of the very complicated issues for you, breaking it down for you. In this almost 3 hours of broadcast, I'll be bringing you all shades of perspectives to all of those issues. Thank you so much everyone for being such a good companion. So sit right tight everyone. If you need a cup of coffee, maybe it's raining around your area, or you need a cup of water, please, you do not want to miss any part of this program tonight right here on your darling Channels Television, your home for the news. Let's get at it everyone, and let me first of all tell you about what is to become a major news in the land, where we saw today 40 years was slammed on a mother and sister of a slain bandit leader who was killed. The court today ended the sentences after both women pleaded guilty to counts 1, 4, and 5 of the 5-count terrorism-related charge brought against them by the Office of the Attorney General of the Federation. Justice Onwa Yilwa of the Federal High Court, Abuja, sentenced 2 women arrested by the Department of DSS for their involvement in terrorism to 40 years in prison. The convicted women, identified as Safia Saliu and Halima Abdullahi, are said to be the mother and sister of suspected terrorist kingpin Kachala Ibrahim Batujo, who was eliminated by the Nigerian security forces on the 10th of June 2026 in the forest near Iluke in Kababunu local government area of Kogi State. Of course, we've been all about town, giving you all what you need. Something special about this program and this election today. Channels Television is in partnership with ERAD Africa, and I will be unveiling for you what we have in the bag. It's something special. Technology is not something you've not seen before, but is revitalized, is replenished with a lot of garnishing elements that will give you all the taste of what a technology could do for an electoral process. We're monitoring the results for you. When they say they rigged the election and they said go to court, maybe you as a voter have the power to stop that kind of tendency of politicians thinking that they can manipulate and subvert the electoral process. Here on Channels Television, our partner ERAD Africa, empowered by the EU delegation on democracy and development here on the continent, we're going to be making sure that we put our eyes on those results for you. In a moment, let me tell you and take you through Ekiti and its environs. But today we saw market women, we saw traders, we saw citizens of the state moving around the city in the last minute effort in getting whatever they need ahead of tomorrow. Don't forget, the state government declared a public holiday for that election, a crucial election for almost 2 million people who are eligible, registered voters. But we have less than 1 million permanent voter cards that have been collected. So we saw them around town today trying to do a last minute buying and selling and moving around. And of course, you know that Ekiti State is surrounded by many, as much as 4 states, is sandwiched in between of that, and movement is going to be restricted throughout almost the entire part of tomorrow. So we monitor for you what that comes. Let's tell you about the readiness and preparations of the electoral umpire. We're getting assurances that this election will be better under the new INEC leadership. But then, how ready is INEC? Is the umpire, logistics, security, voter awareness, and voter sensitization are all crucial to whether or not they will go out on Saturday to vote. But then, how ready is INEC to react to all of these situations that will enhance voter confidence in the process? Earlier today, the resident electoral commissioner of INEC in charge of this election was speaking to Channels Television. Let's allow you to listen to what he said in terms of the readiness of the election management body.
Don't free fear in election. Is it not by people coming out and coming to exercise their franchise? If you come to the polling booth, nobody is going to send you away. You will vote and you'll be there when the vote is counted. Openness. But people must change their mindset and know and trust the process. People don't believe in themselves. They start believing and trust the process. How do we do credible election? You will be there, you'll be accredited, you will turn you give you ballot paper, Abi, your ballot paper after election, they will sort it out, and you will count in front of the party agent, and it will be uploaded. So how much transparency do we talk about? So when the materials were being moved, and they were part of the process, so we have moved the materials from the central bank to the local government area. So 16 local government area. So what we're supposed to be doing now is that they're supposed to be moving the things to the rack center, which is 177 rack center. So the vehicles are there. If you go to the local government, you will see them moving it. So by tomorrow morning, as early as 6, then they will move it to the polling unit. Then we will start voting by 8:30.
All right, then. Thank you so much, everyone, for staying with us. And of course, we are monitoring for you. You heard what INEC said in terms of preparations. But let's give you an understanding of what the observer groups are saying about the polls. This one is a reaction and pre-election observation report as the Situation Room 1 of the group of election observers are observing on this election. They earlier gave a press conference where they addressed journalists as to what they have observed and the expectations for the exercise. Take a listen.
INEC should be open, and the security, on the security side, they should play their game the way it should. They should not be biased. All I will ask the ADG, we should be calm. We should not make any trouble. But God will see us through for the election.
Most political actors have conducted their campaigns in an orderly manner, demonstrated respect for the rule of law, and generally exercised some restraint over their supporters, with only isolated cases of misconduct. However, the political landscape has undergone significant realignment, and this evolving configuration has heightened electoral competition and increased political tensions in the state. We expect political party agents to be present at polling units, ward collation centers, and other designated electoral locations in accordance with the provisions of the Electoral Act and relevant INEC guidelines. As critical stakeholders in the electoral process, the party agents should conduct themselves in a peaceful, responsible, and lawful manner, respecting the authority of election officials and security personnel.
The situation as some of the election observer groups are monitoring. So much to tell you tonight on the program. Police, INEC, ERAD, everything will be unveiled to you tonight as far as this election is concerned. We're going to break, everyone. But when we come back, the special edition of Politics Today on China's television is focusing on the Ekiti governorship election 2026. Technology is going to play a major role, and we and our partners, Yaga Africa, are bringing to you a taste of the pudding, where you see when you start to eat it, especially as we bring it to you tomorrow night on the election night, a special election night focusing on the Ekiti governorship election. We'll show you as a result are coming in, local government after local government. This one election that cannot fail the people of the state and the people of Nigeria. Our eyes on it like the eagle. And Nigerians want to know what is about this election. It's a litmus test for the electoral law, for umpire, security agencies, and whether or not the vote of the people counts. We're going to break, and when we come back, more on this special edition of the program.
Wherever we go, we carry the taste of home with us. Because, as everyone knows, it's never just food. It's moments shared and memories made. And no matter where we are, it's the things we share that keep us together. Remitly, every transfer brings you closer.
What are you doing? Picking my lotto numbers.
You've got no chance.
Actually, I've got two.
2 chances.
One ticket, 2 chances to win. So it could be you and it could be you.
Well, good luck then.
Thank you, thank you.
Now 1 ticket gives you 2 chances to win. New Lotto. It could be you and it could be you.
everyone for staying with us right here. It's a special edition of Politics Today, live on Channels Television, and we're focused on the Ekiti governorship election. We've been telling you what observers are saying. In Nigeria for the election tomorrow. Let me allow you to listen to the Commissioner of Police in charge of election security, Abayomi Shogunle, earlier today at a press conference. Take a listen to him.
Just let me.
We started with having an outer ring, which is the boundary between Ekiti and Kwara State, the boundary between Ekiti and Kogi State, the boundary between Ekiti and Ondo State, the boundary between Ekiti and Osun State. We identified the likely threats at those boundaries, the boundary towns, and we have in place a security response that will take care of those threats. And those response actually started like a month ago, not even today, through clearance operations in the bushes between Ekiti and these states that I mentioned. It was done in conjunction with other security agencies and there were also individual security agencies operations in this area, and this operation, this pre-election operation, has achieved its aim of removing the threats that were identified in those areas. And as we speak, we have police officers from the counter-terrorism CTU, that's the counter-terrorism unit, as well as the police officers from Special Intervention Squad. Those are police officers that wear this color of my beret, which I also command. These two units are specifically trained to engage with bandits, with terrorists, with the hardened criminals. And that's why we have decided to use these two units for the outer ring. And as we speak, we can see everything coming into Ekiti from all the roads and everything going out of Ekiti. Members of the public, if you see anybody trading votes, buying or selling, draw our attention to it. We will ensure the arrest of such persons, recover the exhibits, conduct the investigation that we need to take them to court with, and they will be charged to court accordingly. Then ballot box snatching, part of this security arrangement we have put in place. We have put in place specific measures to deter people or anyone that wants to snatch any ballot, any box, to get to do that. And part of the thing is restriction of vehicular movements. So nobody will be allowed, apart from some specific people that have been mentioned, which we all know. No any other person will be allowed to be going about with vehicles, with motorcycles, with keke, any mechanically propelled machine, to use it on the road. So then we are also having police at strategic locations, because anybody coming or that intends to go and snatch box will leave from somewhere and walk to the polling units where it will happen. And when they carry it, they will leave from there to go to somewhere. So we have provided measures at strategic points to prevent that from happening. Rack materials with
That is Abayomi Shogunle who is the election commissioner of police in charge of election here in Ekiti State. We'll be hearing from him because he's going to be joining us later on the program. We told you earlier that Channels Television is partnering with Yaga Africa to bring you ERAD 2.0. What this means is that we've done it before and we're trying to do it again. This time around, we want to bring transparency, accountability, and of course, citizen engagement into how we track and monitor election result. We've known over the years that a major menace has erupted in our electoral process where we see a lot of voodoo as far as election result compilation and publication of election results are concerned. And it's brought a lot of distrust between the voters and the election management body, INEC, over the years. And now there is a need that as Nigeria moves closer to the election of 2027, how much of trust can Nigerians have in the process? And I'm very certain that when you know your vote count, the exact vote that you count is what you see in the result. You will have some trust and you will be more confident to go and vote. So tonight, we are unveiling for you ERAD 2.0. And we're glad to also tell you that we are partnering with the EU on this one. And tonight, I'm being joined by the Executive Director of Yaga Africa, Samson Itodo. Thank you so much, Samson, for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
I appreciate
Always a delight to be here.
Thank you
really
so
excited about it.
Congratulations, I must say.
Well, congratulations to both of us. Because I recall when we did this in 2022. And we actually started with Ekiti, if you remember.
Absolutely.
And so delighted that we're back again.
Ekiti people are usually very lucky.
Very, very lucky. Very, very lucky.
They always get a taste of the good things as far as this election technology is concerned.
Especially what technology promises. That's right.
Of course. This is Samson. That's one talking. Just beside him is Ruben Elba, who is a representative of the European Union. Thanks so much for your support on this one. Thanks so much indeed, Ruben. Why do you want to support us on this one, Ruben?
Well, this is part of the long-standing partnership that the European Union has built with Nigeria over the 60 past years. And support through the USDGN, that is the support to democratic governance in Nigeria, is one of the largest EU-funded programs in this country. We want to support more transparency. We want to support the whole electoral process. And we are supporting organizations like Yaga and many other civil society organizations to precisely try to, what you were mentioning before, bringing more transparency, making sure that there is more civic education so Nigerians can fully participate in the democratic process. And it all starts with the elections. If you don't have credible elections, if you don't have inclusive elections, we want to have more young people, more women, more people with disabilities also participating, being able to choose whoever they think will be the best leader, whether state level or federal level or even a local level, because we forget sometimes the importance of governance at local level, at the LGA level. So that's why we are here today, also to be part of the conversation, and me in particular, I'm part of what we call a Diplo Watch. So we are here together with representatives from other embassies and international organizations to check, to see really with our own eyes, and to see how the Nigerian electoral system is working in practice, and when necessary also to make a recommendation and observations that will improve the system. We believe that also the use of technology like ERAD and other tools will make the system more robust and will give us really more credibility, more transparency and more participation.
That's indeed the essence if you ask Yaga Africa, and they had an idea. They brought it to us and we told them exactly how we can bring it to make it really what viewers, how impactful it will be for our voters and viewers. But for ERAD specifically, this is not all what is all about. The technology alone, the interface that you see at home is not what this is all about. We've got some eggheads who are developing the technology, crunching the result, and we are bringing to you what the aftertaste of the food. That's what we're bringing to you. Or we have some of our colleagues who are data clerks who are breaking down the figures and collating the result and putting it together. Some of them, I will show you some of the video right behind this studio, and they are there. And we've got some other people of the site. Enormous number of people who are working behind the scenes for this to happen. But Ruben, ERAD, why ERAD 2.0? It worked in Ekiti, Osun. We saw how tremendous this could be, and people start at home, just like you will find in the United States and in the UK, where people will really sit at home and watch how results coming. And you don't have to fret. We were bringing people result in real time until disaster happened in the 2023 election. But why ERAD 2.0? Why are you lending a voice on this?
Well, as I said, we are partnering with organizations like JAGA through our flagship program, the Support to Democratic Governance. And we thought that by providing tools like ERAD, we'll be able to bring another layer of scrutiny to cross-check the data and the results that INEC is publishing on IREF. So once again, what we want to achieve with this tool is to make sure that the results are more accessible to the Nigerian public, and to ensure that we have a tool that, as I said, can cross-check the data and the result that INEC has to upload on the IREF system. So we really, we believe that by bringing more technology, by bringing more tools, we'll really be able to build trust in the system. As you said, that trust that seems to be eroded because of what has happened before. We want to build that credibility, and ERAD is a critical tool, we believe, that will ensure that more people will have access to the results information, and also present in a more digestible, more user-friendly way.
I do not want to let the cat out of the bag just yet, because I know we and our partners, we've got some very big plans for 2027, and we do not want the politicians to see it coming just yet. How far are you willing to go in assisting? Because what we have sworn to at Channels Television, and we are partners, is that by all means 2027 votes will count. The voices of the average person in this country, their votes will count. 2027, either the politicians like it or not, their votes will count. And we are having a big plan. They do not know about it. They will be caught unawares. But we will do something that will shock the world as far as election monitoring is concerned. That is our plan, we and our partners. But you are supporting. How far are you willing to go to ensure that one of the legs to a democratic development and sustaining democracy is continuous and sustained election and electoral process? How far are you willing to go with us on this?
Well, we will for sure be there in 2027, and we will continue. The program will continue running, and will cover the period of 2027 and the whole run-up process. And we are, as I said, we are a long-standing partner of Nigeria. We've been here for more than 60 years since Nigeria is an independent nation, and we continue to believe that Nigeria, being the largest democracy in Africa and soon in the world, it is also in our own interest to ensure that the Nigerian democratic process is strengthened. And as I said, we believe that the use of technology is critical for that, to ensure that the process is robust and that we can all trust that the results will be representing the will of the Nigerians who go freely and willingly to vote on election day. So we are testing a number also of tools like ERAD, and we really sincerely hope that things will go well. And if the information is presented in the IREF and we don't have some of the technical glitches and problems that we saw in previous editions, we'll be able to ensure that the results are credible and that will be accessible for the majority of Nigerians.
Before I allow you to go, Ruben, and it was very beautiful, I saw the hub that all of the civil society organization, it looks like an exhibition center here in Ekiti, and it's just about monitoring that election. What was that initiative about?
Well, we are trying to bring all of the civil society partners of our EU-funded program into one roof, and they are looking at the elections from a different angle. Some of them are looking at, as I said, this as inclusiveness. Some others are looking at the data results. Some others are also looking at security. We've done a thorough pre-assessment of the elections, and we do that every time there is a governorship election, but also in other occasions. And this is the idea. It's a program for Nigerians, by Nigerians, for Nigerians to really improve your democratic process. And we are proud of this. We are proud to be able to support this journey, and we are also providing a lot of assistance, technical assistance as well, to make sure that the system improves and that every elections we take lessons and recommendations. And by the time we get to 2027, we will also make sure that some of the glitches and some of the issues that were highlighted will not happen again. Ultimately, we want to build trust. We want a better system that Nigerians can trust.
Yeah. Trust me, Ruben, there won't be glitch. If there's a glitch, we have our other way of checking and ensuring transparency in 2027. And I want to put it on record. Politicians, if you want to rig an election, it will not work this time around. If there's going to be glitch, it will not work this time around. One thing that will work is that votes this time around in 2027 will count. And I will not let you know what we are planning, but we are planning big. But thank you so much, Ruben Elba of the European Union. I appreciate it. I better allow you go now because we're digging into some fact and data here. But thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
But something, we must thank our partners for supporting our democracy. But what is important is ERAD. And before we get into it, and I'm going to tell our viewers, we're going to give you a great deal of information, data, statistics that you need for this election. And there's no other place for you to be. Please don't turn. I know you have hundreds and loads of channels, but this is the right place to be if you want to get all of those information that are important for this very crucial election. And why, even if you are in Ebonyi, if you are in Nasarawa or Kwara or Benue, whatever you may be, you know why this election is important for you to monitor? It's because it will tell you whether or not you should go out in 2027 to vote. And we'll do the same thing in Osun to monitor the process and make sure the votes count. But Samson, public result, public trust, public accountability, that is what ERAD 2.0, you and your colleagues say this is all about, isn't it?
Yeah, this is it. And so let's say officially welcome to ERAD 2.0, which is Nigeria's election results analysis dashboard. And what we pretty much seek to do, Shenwo, is what we have done before. But this time, this is coming bigger, brighter, with a lot of infusion of new technologies, artificial intelligence. And so when you think about 1.0, 2.0 is another level of innovation. And we're very delighted to be doing this with Channels Television, but more importantly, to the European Union delegation through the support for EU, the support for democratic governance project, and that's why we're able to do this. It's about public trust. You know what, Shell? In 2022, when we did this, the electronic transmission of result was not explicitly stated in the Electoral Act. This time, it's explicitly stated that INEC must transfer result or transmit results electronically. And INEC has issued a set of regulation and guidelines. This time, in the new regulations, INEC has also introduced an electronic EC8A, meaning that after the elections, the polling officials, the INEC officials, will impute the results from the hard copies into the beavers and then send them. That is the new validation process. But we're so delighted. And now we're back with 2.0. We didn't deploy this for previous elections because we thought that based on the rulings of the court, the National Assembly needed to make this compulsory. And we're very delighted with the provisions of the law, even though there are some limitations. But ERAD 2.0 is on another level. And we're very delighted to be bringing this your way. And we'll do this in Ekiti, we do this in Osun, and of course the big one.
Please do not tell anybody.
But let's just hold on.
There's a big deal for the 2027 election.
Yes.
I'm just putting the politicians and those election riggers on notice.
Yes.
If you want to rig the election, forget it.
Just forget it.
You will not be able to rig it. The people of Nigeria will not allow you. We will not allow you because we are smarter than you. We've got a better way to monitor these results. The vote of the Nigerian people will count. And we're standing by. So let's get into some of what Nigerians need to know. Yeah. So we said this, and you know that it's a single source of all of the election, easy to digest.
Easy to digest. We say that the ERAD 2.0 is the single source of truth for election results transmitted on INEC's IREV. So it's based on the results transmitted on INEC's IREV.
Yeah.
And when you think about it, is just for transparency.
Absolutely.
Because basically, INEC IREV seeks to advance transparency. So the ERAD complements INEC IREV. It's powered by data and verified by humans. And I saw the video clip about what's happened behind the studio, the data clerks.
So let people know that there are a lot of people who are doing the crunching, who are looking at the data and the result. Because people put a lot of rubbish in IREF. They take bad pictures, they take a lot of garbage that are really not needed and necessary, maybe because of lack of knowledge, ignorance, or what have you, or lack of competency, and they put it right on the IRF. But then that's why we're sifting them and ensuring that they're verified, the data is correct, and for one thing, transparency.
Absolutely. And one of the things that the public needs to know, that it's not just about the results, it's also about how IREF performs. We're looking at the functionality, which we did in 2022. You recall the several reports that we issued. Some of them, informed some of the changes that were introduced on the IREF. And this time, we're coming bigger and brighter with new ways of doing things. So just stay hooked to ERAD 2.0.
Yeah, of course. And we're talking about what is being uploaded. Yeah, of course, we have an IREV tracking mechanism where we are able to tell the percentage of what has been transmitted from which state, and we know where the lag is, and we're able to monitor for you and show you in real time what has been uploaded and what we have crunched.
If you remember in 2022, when we did this, we found some results that have blurry images, and then we didn't have the technology to read those. But this time, we have an advanced technology for reading those result sheets, whether they are blurry or some of them are incomplete. We've got a technology now that can really facilitate that process. And that's why ERAD 2.0 is way bigger and better than 1.0. And so, let's talk about this.
Everything that you think that you want as far as the election is concerned, because ERAD is not just a television tool. Is basically a tool for information to citizens. But you can also visit the ERAD portal and look at it for yourself. What we do here is to use it as a tool of analysis for you to have the right information. So we're tracking the IREF, we are verifying the result, and we are informing citizens.
What's particularly interesting is that, there are different layers to results collation. When you leave the polling units, you go to the wards. From the wards, you go to the local governments. And often, at the wards and the local governments are where results manipulations actually occur. And the point that you make earlier was quite profound. You've got IREV. IREV was basically, and still is, a deterrence tool. So if you're a ward collation officer, you're a local government collation officer, you think that you can manipulate results at collation level, please don't just waste your time. Because if the results make it to the IREV in good time, and INEC has said they're going to do that, then trying to manipulate the process on the other levels of collation is pretty much a waste of time, because at the granular level, the data would have been assembled, would have been analyzed, and citizens would know exactly what's up.
And so this is a critical point.
I call this the most important part of ERAD 2.0.
So let's dig into it.
And we always say this. That, let's talk about what it is not. That the ERAD 2.0, just like 2.1, it's not INEC. ERAD does not declare official results. INEC is the statutory institution that is responsible for declaring official results. What the ERAD simply does is to take the results from IREF, analyze them, and put them in the public domain, just complying with certain open election principles. So it is not a results declaration platforms. And like we did in 1.0, we never declared results. And if you recall, INEC was also a strong partner in ERAD 1.0 and still is also for 2.0. And that's why I love this. So let the public know that ERAD 2.0 isn't INEC, isn't declaring results. We're pretty much just bringing the results from IREV to your rooms and also to your mobile devices.
And of course, when we know that this is not what it's not, this is what is not, we don't declare the result, because legally speaking, that's the role of INEC. But we have the power and the right to also monitor and know what the result is. It does not declare the official election result. It does not replace the legal collation and declaration process, but it's simplified by IREV and all other powers constitutionally given to average citizens to be able to monitor and stand by the vote. You remember there was a time in our electoral history where they tell you, once you vote, go home. But sensitization came by to say, look, once you vote, in fact, it's your duty to police to police the poll and see that your poll and the ballot count is counted in the what is being collated. But it does not also rely on rumors, party claims, or unofficial figures. We are an official platform for the right data and the right information. And of course, ERAD 2.0 only processes the results that are transmitted in the ERAD. But let's tell our viewers what it is.
Well, I think you already said that. It's basically a transparency tool. It's a public accountability tool. It's an information resource, because what you're doing, we're simply simplifying the IREV and making it very accessible, to citizens. Again, is your trusted reference point, because we don't use any other results, but the results that have been officially transmitted by INEC, and the results are already in the public domain. And that's what this it's about. But it's an independent audit of the INEC IREV. And so we're going to be looking at the functionality, of the INEC IREV. And if you recall, was it 2020? Yes, 2022, or was it 2022 or soon? After we released the report and detected some of the discrepancies between the figures, you recall that one of the parties was very concerned about some of the positions that we took, but INEC had to leverage the ERAD report to begin to introduce things like accreditation data on the IREV portal, because we thought that it was a transparency tool. And perhaps to also use this opportunity to actually call on INEC that one way to strengthen, the transparency of this entire process, aside the EEC8As, aside the scanned images of the result sheets, the accreditation data should also be published on the IREV.
Absolutely.
So if you take a polling unit, you can just see the figures. These are the number of people who are accredited. So you don't have to go to the EC8As to see the accreditation figure. In fact, what INEC has introduced now with the the electronic EC8As on the BVAS, it can directly publish the total number of accredited voters on the IREV without recourse to the hard copy.
And it's easy to be able to figure it out. Once you know the number of registered voters, you of course know the number of PVC that is collected, because that has been published.
That's right.
You know the number of accredited voters, and you know the number of ballots that are being cast. So easily you'll be able to figure out where the problems are.
I think once there's a commitment to transparency, we already have all the tools. All we just need to see is that practical expression of the commitment, to be transparent throughout the entire electoral value chain. And I think this is an opportunity for INEC and also other stakeholders to fulfill that mandate.
All right. So what does the data tell us in all of these? Because
I know this is
one
the
thing,
sweetest part.
Yes, it's very good. Now, I love election mathematics. So it's important for our viewers to know that data and political mathematics drive science of election.
That's right.
And it's very important for us to know those figures. That is the only way you know something is wrong. I dare tell anyone that election is mathematics. Once you miss out something, whatever result you get, we'll figure out whether you're right or wrong. And so let's look at what the data is telling us. First and foremost, we know about this will give you an understanding. If you do not know Ekiti State, you've never been here, this gives you an understanding about this state. The state was created in 1996, amongst several other states that came at about that time. This was in the era where the military was still in power. This was under General Sani Abacha, created, is one of the states that was created. He has 16 local government area. At the moment, there are 2,444 polling units. At the creation of the state, the polling units were not as much, but 16 local government came as long as the state has been in existence. So 1,059,360 registered voters as of 2026. The PVC collection rate, which is amazing, 97.1%. And I do know that the people of Ekiti State are politically aware, rustic. They love their pounded yam and egusi. Homogeneous people speaking almost the same. Educated also. I don't know if they are more educated than where I come from, but they're very educated.
They are more educated.
They're very educated people. You have a lot of professors. It's almost one house, one professor in Ekiti State. And it's the home state of the likes of Baba Afe Babalola, a very respected. One of the oldest lawyers in the land. So yes, that's a brief background on Ekiti State, just at a glance.
Yeah, but this is particularly interesting. And one of the things that we said was if you've recorded 97.1%, our expectation is that this 97.1% is a true reflection of the people who have their permanent voters card. Because some of the things that have been observed in the last couple of days where voters cards are being retrieved from people, or they talk about cloning of voters cards or taking images of those, we hope that the actual people actually got their PVCs.
Not some folks collecting them on behalf of...
But having said that, this is also an indication that in terms of the political behavior of people in Ekiti, they seem to be receptive of democratic participation. Therefore, if you've got 97%, our expectation is that at least there should be 80% turnout in tomorrow's
If they could collect their PVC, they could as well do the voting.
Yeah, that's our expectations. But
again,
projections,
so the question will be 97% of PVC collected as of the last CVR.
That's right. That's right.
So INEC is calculating the CVR, the last CVR, which was closed. You know, there's a special CVR done for Osun and Ekiti.
Yes.
Then there was a general CVR, but it was closed at some point. But this is the percentage of the PVC collection of the CVR that was last done.
No, actually, it's the current one as of a few days ago.
Yeah.
Because there were over 34,000 people who got on the voters register after the 2023 elections. So this is a cumulative figure because the PVCs were produced and they were distributed between, I think, the 4th to 11th of June. And so this is where the figures actually stand at the moment. So let's give the people of Ekiti the benefit of doubt. We believe that as a people, you have an opportunity to exercise your franchise, and please make good use of this opportunity because it only comes once in 4 years.
Yeah. So let's also tell you that, of course, we told you earlier that over 1 million people are registered voters. Of that number, we're hoping that we have close to this figure. We have less than 600,000 people voted the last time around. But then it's interesting that the largest number of voters in the state are students.
Yes, I think the trend cuts across the entire country. When you look at the percentage of young people on the voters register, they're somewhere around 47%. And so it's not surprising that you see this figure. And what it tells you that, yes, though we're a young population, you still have younger people who dominate, our voters register. The biggest challenge is we've not been able to convert that figure into turnout. And so there's a disconnect between that figure and what we see show up at elections. And I think, Sharon, that is where we've got a problem, because in that particular gulf, you have the question of trust. Because a lot of these students are not showing up because they either don't trust the electoral process, but at the heart of this is that government and governance has really failed to deliver its promise to the people. And so if people can't connect the quality of their livelihood to democratic participation, they aren't going to show up at elections. And this is why political leaders, if they care about democratic legitimacy, they need to consider and prioritize delivering for the people. Because when people feel that when they vote and they transfer their rights into a certain class of people in the ruling political elite, that those people will take decisions that better their lives. And what they're simply asking for is not too much. It's security. It's the quality, of the food that they eat, the air that they breathe, and their welfare. Yeah. That is what the voters actually seek. And that social bargain is what the voters have an opportunity tomorrow to not only renegotiate, but to reclaim, from this political class.
If this is anything to go by for even all the politicians, is the fact that when you look at it, it's easy for you to get a vote as a candidate in this election. You know why? If you have done well in terms of governance, or as a politician, if you have convinced the students, and if you have 90% of them voting for you, you are home, you're coasting home to victory.
But you need to also look at this category. You see, you can see artisans and traders.
And even farmers and fishermen and women, they're also
exactly. Those three categories of people.
The state is agrarian.
Exactly.
There are three major occupations that are predominant in this state. Public service, farming, trading. Because those who farm go then to trade. And don't forget, the geography and the topography of the state is such that it's sandwiched, it's landlocked. It has about 4 states bordering Ekiti state. So it's also as an agrarian state, and even from way back in the Second and First Republic, even before independence, Ekiti state and so many of the communities in Ekiti state are known for farm produce that they give out. And I'm not sure if you have taken the Ekiti pounded yam.
Amongst those three categories, who do you think are the very committed traditional voters at elections?
I will say that it has always been students have never taken elections seriously. They sit at home and watch.
And that's the most unfortunate thing.
But really. I think a lot of the times we see farmers and artisans, they usually commit themselves. Anyways, they are not able to go to work. There is a public holiday and there is curfew. So a lot of the times you see their commitment. And the other arm of voters that I see that have always committed, although they are less than 10,000, are the housewives.
Yes. But you know, because we cannot also disaggregate the gender distribution of the farmers and also traders, but when you look at trading, you also think that majority of them are women, because when you look at previous elections, not just in Ekiti, you see encouraging turnout of women for elections. The most saddest tale is that the parties don't consider them worthy enough to secure candidate nomination. And when you look at Ekiti, none of the parties presented a female governorship candidate, whilst you have majority, you know, of this sort of categories of people who are actually women. So I think there's a lot of mismatch that we really need to address if we're really serious about inclusive, you know, politics or inclusive development.
But again, one of the things that I thought was important for us to note in what this data is telling us is the fact that, yes, there is a general population of the people, but you look at a segment of the people of Ekiti State who have gone to collect their PVC or who are registered, because these are the registered voters. You look at how serious they are in terms of democratic process and the election. So you see that students are more serious. You see that.
But some will argue that because the PVC is a form of identification, a lot of people also try to secure
because you as a businessman, you a civil servant, public servant.
But I'll give students the benefit of that. And I think when you look at the profile of the new registered voters, a lot of them are also young people. And we cannot rule the fact that these young people, whether they are Gen Zs or millennials, they're quite frustrated with traditional political structures. And it's just that we play some politics that is archaic and it's not responsive, you know, to the needs of people. So Nigerian youth and students want a better deal. And they feel that elections may not be a pathway to change. And what we need to address is that even though elections might be captured, they might be manipulated by political authority, that you still have a role to play in reclaiming that power. That's why it's important to show up. Because if you don't show up on the day of elections, someone is either voting for you or you're going to be governed by by minority. And we always say this, Sean, it's easier to manipulate elections when you have less turnout for elections. The more people show up, you make it difficult for those who want to capture or manipulate the process to have their way.
In places like America, for example, this is the time that those who are working the phones and reaching out to the last minute deciders for election, this is the moment when they will start working on them. Sure. You know, the civil servant, this is the moment you start sending them last minute text messages. This is the moment you start some people do, they say in America, sometimes they say that they bring food, they bring gifts to your doorstep just to say hello, how are you doing? And they call them some kind of vote buy. Yeah. People say they are lobbying them for votes. But this is the moment where you will show that you really know how to play the game. If you look at the numbers, merely looking at the numbers, and if you have the data as a political party and a politician, this tonight is going to be a real big deal in convincing them before they wake up tomorrow.
But they don't take this into deep consideration. The traditional Nigerian politician feels that they understand the language of the people. And for them, the language of the people is voter inducement, is vote buying. You reference other climes. They do door-to-door, campaigns. Yeah. If you ask all the candidates in this election, how many of them have gone to knock on doors? I doubt you'll find less than 10%, or if you find any. When you look at the campaigns, what are they simply doing? They just aggregate people in rallies, and those rallies they don't even make constructive policy statement. Previously, we used to have debates at elections. Yeah. There hasn't been any in this particular.
They wouldn't just show up
because they won't show up.
They damn it, and they say let the Nigerian people go to court. We don't want to do debates. Go and do whatever, and that is a consequence. Bad governance has been the consequence of not being able to answer to questions about what you would do for the people if you were elected.
Because what most traditional politicians seek is uninformed voters showing up at elections. And that's why they do not prioritize debate. Only a few of them want to have constructive debate about policy issues, about the economy, about security, about infrastructure. But they don't care about those discussions because they know they're going to buy votes on the day of elections, or they're going to induce voters. And that's why we're having that conversation, and there's a strong policy discussion about how do you limit this, not just commercialization, but really compromise of choices that people make at elections using or weaponizing poverty against them.
In the coming hours and day, we will be looking at the past election history and the data, what they're telling us. So if you look at the aggregation of those figures from the years past, 2018, we have 909,000 registered voters. In 2022, we had 988,000, just about 80,000 or so higher than what we saw in 2018. And in 2026, we saw, now we're seeing about over 1 million voters. So there was an 8.72% increase from 2018 in 2022. And in 2026, compared to 2022, there's 7.2% increase. But now total growth tells you that new voters that are added is 149,000 from 2018 to 2022, and overall growth in the voter register is 16.5% if you aggregate or compare the figures from 2018 to 2026. There is a growth and it keeps moving. So voter turnout and patterns. 2014, 2018, 2022, 2023, and 2026. But yet to find out. But if you look at the voter turnout, 50% in 2014. 2018, it was 44%. 2022, it was abysmal. It went down 36%. 2023 presidential election, it was 24%. What will it be this time around?
We don't know. We just have to wait. But if you look at the projections, quite frankly, I was going to ask if we were to plot this in a graph, and then boom, I just saw this, that you already plotted this. When you see this decline,
it keeps going down.
Exactly. Our expectation is that this graph, this line will move slightly higher. But quite frankly, I'll be cautiously optimistic in view of some of the factors that we already see. So I doubt that we would record, higher turnout. And even if we do, quite frankly, I doubt it will be over 10% increase. And some even say even lower. But I just want to be optimistic that the people of Ekiti will prove us wrong in this election. But when I mean turnout, it's actually turnout. It's not cases where there are inflated figures. We're looking at actual turnout.
I think things got better in terms of the actual number of, in the ERAD days and Obasanjo days, turnout is voodoo mathematics.
I was going to say, are you going to reference that?
No, I'm just saying that things were terrible. From 2011, things got better in terms of when we now started cleaning up the voter register and things got better.
That's right.
Now things are looking better, only that how politicians now learn how to subvert the back end of the process and now moving around the process, because you get to a point in time and the politicians know that once you stuff ballot, it doesn't make sense any longer. You collect the ballot and destroy it, doesn't make sense any longer. So things get better, but then we need to fine-tune and make our electoral process
I think, Cheryl, if we stay on this, and I think it's a strong message to people of Ekiti, the fact that only 36%, that's a small fraction of your population, determining who a governor is totally unacceptable. And that's not what democracy envisions.
No.
Democracy or elections are a festival. People should show up. Yes, we understand there is lack of trust, but it's not the way out of this. So please, the people of Ekiti, make a commitment to at least, even if it's take it back to where we were in 2018, I think it'll be great for democracy if you're able to do that. So please show up tomorrow and cast your vote.
So now, let's learn something. So these are the number of registered voters according to the 16 LGAs, local government areas of the state.
And of course, their PVCs.
Percentage. The registered voters of 2026 and the percentage of collected PVCs per local government areas. I'm mobile. And I'm understanding that there are situations in mobile as we speak.
It's one of the hotspots.
As we speak, they're trying to resolve a lot of issues. And look at it. When we were planning for this election, without even looking at the figure, I think maybe because of my knowledge of the state, I'm able to plot for you and give you an understanding in terms of what could happen, the incidents that we could see in the state. And I was very right. Talking about Moba, Ikere, Ijero. These are strong areas. Idosi historically has got a history of issues. Ikole, these are very Ikole, Ado-Ekiti. These are areas you need to look for. You'll be fighting for vote here in Ado-Ekiti because there's a lot of votes that you could get there. But let's look at what the percentages are telling us in terms of the PVC collected, because like I always say, don't look at the number of registered voters, look at the number of PVC collected, because that is the actual number of the votes that is possible, the potential of vote that is possible. But if you look at from Mumbai up until down to Ishiorun, you can see the percentage there. But the one that's gotten the highest, 99% of the registered for the PVC collection rate in Mobile. It shows. I don't know the people of Mobile. Maybe every household has a politician there. Well, but 99%, that's a lot of big deal.
That's a big deal. Again, it was one of the hotspots. There have been several instances of kidnapping in Mobile, and there have been concerns about, even how the elections will be conducted, particularly the collation, of results, because after 7 p.m., I think there's a lot of apprehension and fear in that particular local government. So if you have 99.8%, all you just need is 0.2% and boom, you're actually 100%. So it means that of these 56,000 people, over 56,900 or so actually collected. But when you see mobile and look at the number of registered voters, compared to a local government like Ado, which has 96%, you clearly see that the number, there's a lot of disparity. There's a lot of disparity. When you look at, and the same trend also cuts across the top 5. They are all less than 70,000 registered voters. But when you go down, from Ikole, you go down from Ikole, you have 80,000. Or in fact, Repodon has 75. But when you see Ekiti, and Oye.
Yeah.
You know, these are
local government, absolutely.
LGAs, but they still also have 97%, 96%.
Which means
the lowest is still quite high.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're looking for how this election will go tomorrow, there are about, and I'll point you out to 6 local government areas that will determine pretty much. There is a battleground. Every politician wants to battle, and the first is Ekiti, with almost 200,000 voters. Ekiti has about 1/4 of the entire voting population of the state. It means one thing: if you are able to coast home with 70% of the vote in Ekiti, with the people turning out en masse, you are on a good ground. Then you go to a local government like Oye. Oye has over 70,000. Oye Ekiti. Go to ERAD in Faludun. This is another local government that's got huge number, about 75,000 registered voters. And you look at the local government like Ikere, you look at places like Idosi. These are also areas that will give you the number. Small numbers, Isiorun, small numbers, but trust me, any politician who is doing a last-minute calculation, look at these local government areas. Ekiti is in the lead. Of course, we know that ERAD is also very critical. And you look at Ekiti East, Ekiti West, those we get you good numbers also. Equally, Ijeru, Ikere, these are numbers that will be very critical. And Ikole. Ekiti and Ikole as some of the number 1 and number 2 in terms of voting population. But in terms of how many people that have collected their PVC, you can see that they've got good numbers there. And it's very critical for everyone to know that as much as the PVCs are collected, the number in turnout also needs to make sense.
You know what's interesting about this figure? Is yes, you don't forget to be declared a winner. You must meet 2 conditions. To 1/4 of votes in 2/3. So you must have 10 LGAs out of this where you've secured that second condition. So you can get, you can take the
high
whole
numbers. You can go to ERAD in Faludun and smash the number. Go to Ekiti, smash the number.
That's right.
And unfortunately, if you are not able to,
and that's the danger of small numbers, because once you have small numbers and you have low turnout, and if the margin is not quite wide, then the probability that you will not end the election on first ballot is quite high.
It's very high.
But some have said this is not a competitive election. Again, the competitiveness of an election does not determine, it's not an automatic determinant that an election is credible or is a democratic one. As far as we are concerned, all elections are important, but the process is equally and much more important. So we will see how that
works. So let's look at the distribution of registered voters by senatorial district, and it will give you a simple understanding of where you need to vote. But historically speaking, Ekiti Central has given us 321,000. As of 2018, went up to 348,000. Ekiti South, 375,000 in 2018 and 306,000 in 2022. Ekiti North, 216,000 in 2018 and 234,000 in 2022. Essentially, election in Ekiti Central, when everything goes well for a politician, it brings you good number, same as Ekiti South. Ekiti North, what you need is just to work hard and get the aggregation of about 6 or 5 local government that make up the number. But the numbers are not very good compared to the rest of the 2 senatorial districts. What is important is that in the past election in 2018, this is what it looked like. It was an election that a lot of people say was keenly contested, considering the votes cast and how the result came, and the number of turnout that we saw in that election. But if you look at it, in 2022, it was a different kettle of fish. The incumbent winning with a large margin, with over 105,000 votes to defeat his closest rival at the time. But it does look like a lot of things have changed since then. And if you look at again 2023 in the election, it was quite different. we saw that the ruling party held sway, but they were giving a tough time by the opposition party here, and we don't want to dwell too much about it. But of course, we're giving you the battlegrounds and the hotspots, local government areas. The battlegrounds, like we said earlier, to Ado-Ekiti, Ikole, Oye, Ido-Osi, and Efon. These are areas that you need to look out for. If you're going to win, it's just like your KKK in the Nigerian election map. But if in the hotspot, and these are areas that we really need to pay our attention of, in terms of collation of results, in terms of the conduct, in terms of the topography, in terms of the psychology and the behavioral science of politicians and how they've behaved in the Ikole, Oye, Ido-Osi, Ekiti East, and Moba. These local government areas have posed some problems. They remain hotspot as far as this election is concerned.
If you cross-tabulate, you see that 3 of the hotspots are actually key battleground. And for the hotspot, I will add, Ado-Ekiti, because again, it's one of those battlegrounds. But I totally agree, and this is where we need to keep an eye, because a lot of the pre-election assessment have really identified some of these locations, and we hope that the security agencies are deploying to those locations, and this is how I think they're
so it gives you an understanding. So if you look at the hotspots, they're aggregated in one part, in the northern part of northwest part of the state, and it gives you a sense of what could have caused this, maybe in terms of geography and the topography of that area.
And some of them are also border
states.
And
so it's all the border, Imoba and the rest are in the border states. So and the key battle grounds, of course, you can see them as so. But keep your eyes on Ado-Ekiti. Whatever happens in Ado-Ekiti, very, very critical. Whatever happens in Ikere and Ikole, these are very, very key local government areas as far as this election is concerned. So this priority map, Samson, they are in different coloration and color codes, green, red, and yellow. So extreme priority, the attention must be given. We already know that as we speak, there's a situation that they're trying to resolve in Moba. Hopefully that is being resolved before tomorrow. Ado-Ekiti, Ikole, these are areas of extreme priority. Of course, areas that are green of low priority, and areas in amber are areas that you need to watch out for. You know what's
also interesting, and again, give credits to INEC. They have mapped all the polling units. And of all these polling units, they've looked at the categories of threats. Some kidnapping. In fact, they've mapped some of the polling units where they anticipate that thugs can disrupt the conduct of elections, or even where ballot papers can be snatched, or where there can be disruption. So they've clearly mapped those threats. And a few weeks ago, they did share that data, with civil society organizations. Our expectation is that the security agencies would have neutralized some of these threats. We don't want to go into the election tomorrow and then go and see Moba still recording all forms of violence, or go to Ikole, or even parts of Ado-Ekiti. But because every security agency have access to this intelligence. And so we hope that, given the assurances that they've given, that all of this, will not manifest or make any impact tomorrow.
Thank you, Samson.
Always a delight.
So we will get much more into the ERAD as the day unfolds, and of course tomorrow we'll be able to give you live and on-the-spot reporting as the results come in. There's so much to talk about as far as the data is concerned. But thank you so much, Samson.
Always. And congratulations to
Channels. Congratulations to you at Yaga Africa. You came up with the idea, and we, like a mother, wanted to see how that
you must be a very good mother. Well, welcome to 2.0.
Absolutely. Thank you so much indeed. You are in for it. Whatever you may be watching, it's going to get its game on. Not in the game of football, in the election game of 2026 in Ekiti State, and we are promising you, I will bring the result to you as they're coming on ERAD 2.0. We and our partners, but that's not how we leave it. There's still so much more to talk about. There's a lot of disinformation and misinformation. I'm bringing a disinformation and misinformation expert to give us already. There's loads and loads of rumors, lies, misinformation, AI generated videos and pictures online in Ekiti State to dissuade or to confuse voters. But those we will dispel tonight on the program. Equally, I'll be bringing up an expert who have done a lot of mapping on security situation in Ekiti State, and they will be telling us more of what to watch out. That is not going to be the only thing. INEC is going to be joining us. Security experts and security, the man in charge of security in Ado-Ekiti for this election will also be joining me. I've got a bumper package for you. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
What are you doing? Picking my lot of numbers.
You've got no chance.
Actually, I've got two.
2 chances.
One ticket, 2 chances to win. So it could be you and it could be you.
Well, good luck then.
Thank you, thank you.
Now one ticket gives you 2 chances to win. New Lotto. It could be you and it could be you.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television, ubiquitous.
Saturday, June the 20th, Ekiti State stands at another defining moment. Across 16 local government areas, 117 wards and thousands of polling units, voters will decide who becomes the next governor of the land of honor and integrity. But this election is about more than choosing a leader. It is a test of transparency, a test of accountability, and a glimpse into how Nigeria's elections may be done ahead of 2027. That is why Channels Television, in collaboration with Yaga Africa, is bringing back ERAD, the election results analysis dashboard, from the first ballot cast to the last vote counted, from voting and security to collation centers and the final declaration. Our reporters will be across Ekiti, delivering comprehensive coverage from every corner of the state. And when results begin to emerge, ERAD will track, analyze and visualize polling unit results uploaded to INEC's IREF portal, providing citizens with a transparent, data-driven window into the electoral process. One election, one state, one people, and one destination for election night analysis. A robust coverage of the Ekiti governorship election 2026. Live on Channels Television, your home for the news.
Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us on a special edition of Politics Today, live on Channels Television. It's a continued coverage of the Ekiti governorship election. I'm now being joined by the Commissioner of Police, who is in charge of elections and who is the head of this election process. As you know, that the police is the lead agency in election security in Nigeria. Commissioner of Police Abayomi Shogunle is live for us on the program. Thank you so much indeed, CP, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
I appreciate it. How ready are you?
Absolutely, we are good to go.
This sounds like what police always say. I was actually setting a trap for you and you entered in the trap. I know that it looks like a cliche, but you are always right, 100% until something goes wrong.
Well, I think from the explanation, from the layout of what we have put in place, at the end of the day, you're going to agree with me that we are absolutely ready and we are good to go. And if you want me to start laying that out now, I can.
We've got all the time tonight.
So I can.
I know that you've been around monitoring and coordinating election security for quite a while now. You're probably one of the most experienced police officers in Nigeria when it comes to election duty. Give us an understanding. When you say you are ready, what do you mean? Is it in terms of numbers of deployment, or in terms of incident mapping, or in terms of arresting situation, of violence tracking? What exactly do you mean about readiness ahead of tomorrow?
We are ready in terms of strategic planning. When we are having an election, an operation like this, you start with an operational order. The operational order, which has been approved for this election by the Inspector General of Police, IGP Olatunji Rilwan Disu, is anchored on the multi-layered security approach. Multi-layered security approach in the sense that we have designed all our deployments and all our activities around this security framework, which we have actually started implementing in the last 1 month through pre-election clearance operations, which we carried out at the bordering towns. You know, first we did a risk assessment, which now gave us a clear understanding of what the security situation in Ekiti is actually like. What are the elements? What are the factors? How did they intend
What did you find out in this your risk assessment?
Some of it for operational reasons, I might not want to go on air with it.
But some of which we know, because there was an school abduction in Oyo State. and neighboring states are also worried about that tendency. That is one. This state is sandwiched amongst about 4 or 5 other states: Ondo, Kwara, Osun, and Kogi State. And Kogi State has had its own fair share of insecurity. And there are a lot of violence that has also happened. These are some of the things that are in the public domain. Is there more that you need to tell us?
And that's the reason why we have chosen this multi-layered security framework approach for this operational order. Because just as you have stated, Ekiti is bordering Kwara State and Kogi State. We all know what has been happening in the bushes in those states, which are neighboring to Ekiti State. And we actually went into those forests to neutralize and clear some elements that there are indications that they might want to affect the process. The reason why we are here, we have been able to clear all those ones in the last 1 month, and our deployment again is tailored towards the framework which I stated, because we have like 3 different layers of security cordon, so that just in case if the threat passes or overlaps one, definitely it won't go through the second or even the last one. And this approach also involves inclusion of the elites, inclusion of traditional rulers, community leaders, religious leaders. It also includes the inclusion of the general public through soliciting and getting information, which we have actually used to also
the inability to digitally and technologically cover Ekiti State centrally and be able to have eyes on the ground. How worried are you about it? Because what you have is mostly a manual process of policing the state.
No. You see, Sheung, I understand you are pushing me to say things that I said.
I'm not pushing you.
Wouldn't say.
I'm asking you a direct question. You are incapable of monitoring.
No.
Do you have satellite to monitor? Do you have drones to monitor this state during tomorrow's election?
We have, of course, there's nothing wrong if I mention here that we have a drone unit in Ekiti as we speak. That's part of the technology.
Real time that gives you.
Yes.
Where is your control center? Command and control?
No. I can always show you anytime you come around, we meet on the field. We have one set up in Ekiti.
And you can see real time the possibility of violence, the traffic and everything. Because as far as we know, Ekiti is not gadgeted up to the extent. I mean, there are some states in Nigeria, like Enugu State. I have seen their command and control, and I see that you can, in fact, there is thermal, there are infrared detecting devices in that state, and it's probably one of the only states aside Lagos that have eye on the ground on every street and every borders of their state. As I know, Ekiti is a rustic place. Probably the intelligence is the intelligence of the people of the area. And that's what I'm asking. I don't know whether the Nigerian police force 2 weeks ago or 1 month ago have installed gadgets around this state to monitor
the thing is, you know, some of these equipments, you don't need to actually install them before you can get to use them. You have your OB van outside.
Yeah.
Is it permanently here in Ekiti? You brought it to Ekiti for a purpose. And the same way, we have brought in some of the equipment that we need for a particular purpose. So, you know, this is 2026. Gone are the days where you need to start moving with very huge, big boxes, containers to install certain things. With a briefcase, you can actually move in with the equipment you need and get to do what you want to do. So going back now to the security framework we have on ground, I've been able to explain the first set, the first layer. Then we have also done deployment around the cities and the towns. Every town, we have identified vulnerable areas, high-risk areas. We have in place adequate static patrol, which will serve as deterrent. Then, now going to the real day, the election day, which is tomorrow. We have officers that will be deployed to all the polling units in Ekiti State. Adequate deployment to all polling units. We are going to also deploy to all the collation centers. We are deploying to all local governments. In fact, we have deployed already to all INEC local government offices, the INEC state headquarters. We have also made provision for all INEC staff that will be participating in this election, including the ad hoc staff, the NYC core members. And we are giving special attention and priority to the core members. We have also, in terms of security coverage, we have also made available security for the media as well, for the observers, both foreign and local observers. So that's why I'm telling you that we are ready. And as we are speaking now, we have distribution of electoral materials from the INEC headquarters, from the INEC offices in the local government. They are ongoing to the RAC, to the RAC centers.
So how many officers have you deployed so far?
We have deployed massively and adequately.
Yeah. How many?
Due to strategic and operational reasons, I'm not going to give a
I understand
definite...
that it's 17,000.
I'm not giving a definite figure.
Is that true?
I'm not giving a definite figure.
Or you don't just want to
now.
say?
Yes, I don't. No. Not that I just want to... I don't just want to say what you have said. But what I'm telling you is that I'm not giving a definite figure now. By the time we get to maybe the collation stage, or when we get to post-election review, then I can tell you, or the Nigerian police will tell you that, okay, we deployed this number of officers for the Ekiti election.
What is happening in Moba?
You see, the thing is, there have been a lot of reports from different parts of Ekiti, from different parts of the state. Some we have been able to confirm. Some even happened weeks ago, which are no longer any threat. But the thing is, we have provided adequate security to ensure that this election goes on tomorrow peacefully, without any ugly incident.
Asking specifically about Moba, are you on top of the situation in Moba? Have you been able to resolve the incident in Moba?
Which of the incidents?
I'm asking you. You are the lead security agency.
Yeah, which of the incidents?
We understand that there are some issues in Moba.
Issues about?
About violence and issues relating to insecurity.
About the election?
About the election.
That we're planning?
About tomorrow,
or about crime?
About issues relating to election and violence.
I think you need for the police to confirm.
We just want to confirm from you whether or not you have the information or the intelligence around the situation in Moba.
Well, I have not been briefed about any particular situation that required great attention.
INEC says it will deploy more than 2,400 beavers devices and nearly 10,000 election personnel across Ekiti. Security breaches involving not only human, because you've talked about human and the environment generally, but breaches including technology can undermine confidence in the result. There could be issues relating to hacking and taking over the INEC infrastructure. What measures have you put in place to secure beavers devices, the collation center, the result transmission infrastructure, the technology specifically? Because part of policing could also mean cyber policing.
Yes, you know, the distribution of both the sensitive and non-sensitive materials commenced yesterday from the Central Bank of Nigeria here in Ado-Ekiti, and we have provided adequate security. We are using the SPU, the Special Protection Units, to escort, we have used them to escort the materials from CBN in Ado-Ekiti to all local government headquarters. And as at 6 p.m. yesterday, they all arrived at all the local government headquarters. Then this afternoon, we have also, in collaboration with INEC, we have also activated the distribution of these materials from the local government headquarters straight to the RAC centers. And we have adequate police officers, armed men, who are also there. And very early tomorrow morning, the materials will start moving from RAC centers straight to the polling units, where they will be, where the ballots will be cast. And we have provided adequate security for all these measures. And shortly before coming into the studio, I still checked the situation updates, and there is no ugly incident that has been reported.
So everything in terms of this election, in terms of violent mapping, everything is calm.
Ekiti is calm, which has been confirmed by the civil society organizations, which they have also made statements regarding that. And from our analysis and from observation, even confirmed by some of the civil society organizations, more people are willing to come out tomorrow to cast their vote because of the high level of confidence they have regarding the security that has been put in place in Ekiti State.
My question about cyber threat.
About cyber threat, you know, the Nigerian Police Force, we have a cyber crime unit, which is actually one of the best on the continent of Africa. So if there is any need to get them involved in any activities that has to do with cyber issues or cyber security related issues, yes, we're going to do that. But as of now, nothing to suggest that there is any negative incidents.
Vote buying. What have you put in place to curtail that? That has become one of the most sophisticated threats to election integrity. And in this age where there are POS machines, we understand now that there are a lot of POS machines also that will be used in paying and transferring money tomorrow. Voter inducement and now use of digital transfers, agents, and coded systems around the voting area. How prepared is the police to detect and prosecute vote buying operations on election day? The politicians and some of these vote buyers are now sophisticated. They use means that will not make you suspect them now.
Well, we just concluded the training for police officers that will be involved in this election. We just concluded that training yesterday. And part of the things that they were open to, or part of the information, or part of the directive they also received from the training includes identifying vote trading. You know, the 2026 electoral law, as amended, has actually made clear definition regarding what constitutes offense under the Electoral Act, which vote trading is part of it. So in this case now, we are not just talking about the person that is buying the vote, we're also talking about the seller. And police officers have been trained on how to identify all these issues. Then we also urge members of the public, once they also notice anything suspicious like that, if time permits, I'm going to give the emergency telephone number through which they can call and also inform the police about that. And anybody that is caught or that is involved in the issue of votes trading will definitely be apprehended, the exhibits will be recovered, and necessary investigation and prosecution will follow.
If you may, we wouldn't mind if you share the emergency phone numbers for the public to be able to have a sense of what it is. Do you have it?
Yes, thank you. So the emergency phone number is 0806 233 5577. Let me take that again. The emergency telephone number for the Ekiti State Police Command is 0806 233 5577. So if there is any information you want to pass to the police in Ekiti State regarding this election, you can reach us on 0806 233 5577. Thank you.
All right. We'll try as much as possible to put it right on the screen so that our viewers can be able to see it. But what constitutes, because there are people who say you don't see them give the money. They are now more sophisticated. Before now, you see people, one person comes with a big purse, and when you vote, you see people who raise their ballot paper to just confirm to the ballot monitor that I have voted for your party. Then he goes behind and collect the money. People say things are now sophisticated more than that. In fact, there are caterers, we understand, that are cooking now, and they will take the food in takeaway packs with pure water, chilled pure water inside coolers, and they are taking it to the polling unit. So as you are arriving, breakfast is already served, and they are preparing for lunch also. Tell me how you will collect my breakfast and lunch and you not vote for our party. That is one of the strategies we understand that is in place. So maybe they are one step ahead of your officers. I mean, how do you detect that? Because vote buying is a form of voter inducement. So instead of us taking it into one single bucket, voter inducement generally, what constitutes voter inducement? Would you allow anybody to bring money? Will you allow anybody to bring food, water, Ankara? Because these are things that, and don't forget, sir, in this state, there's a popular saying, Diboko Sebe. It's a Yoruba word meaning that vote and go cook some soup, meaning that you get the benefit of coming to vote for us.
Okay, I think, Sheon, to better explain what constitutes vote trading is if the producers can pull up on the screen the section of the Electoral Act that clearly states what constitutes that offense we are talking about, so that from the definition of that offense, then we can easily know that, okay, this aspect as explained is actually an offense, or this act does not meet the criteria to say that the offense of vote trading has taken place.
Well, I'm not sure we're able to put that up immediately, but of course, generally, with my knowledge of what the electoral law, vote buying is an aspect of voter inducement. And the police, the law is now tried law that you do not need an extraordinary measure to be able to arrest anybody and the polling unit as you have deemed as committing an offense as enshrined in the electoral law. So, and that's why I'm trying to put up the scenario such that when your officers or when the average Nigerian see this kind of situation, they are able to detect quickly that this person is inducing us to vote for them.
Well, once that is established, of course, our officers have been told on what to do, effect an arrest. You see, every police action in this election will be guided by two important laws. That is, one, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, 1999, as amended, as well as the Electoral Act, 2026, as amended. So every action of the police will be based on these two laws. It is what the law says is an offense and the procedure that we are going to follow regarding this election.
All right. give us an understanding, and since you're not telling us about the number of officers that you are deploying, and I know that your work will be less because little work would you do in terms of river water bodies, because Ekiti State is not that the geography and the topography of the area is not that complex. No water body that is major compared to states like Bayelsa, Delta, Rivers, and the rest. In terms of area surveillance, do you have the air wing of the Nigerian police? Is the Air Force also assisting you? Who are the other sister agencies that are helping you out in this election?
We have the air wing of the Nigerian Police Force on ground, and the air wing is made up of two components. We have the helicopter patrol aspect, and we also have the drone squad. We have them already in Ekiti for this election, and we are going to be deploying them accordingly as the need arises. All security agencies that are members of the Interagency Consultative Forum on Election, they are part of the provision of election security. Talking of the military, it's talking of the Nigerian Police Force as the lead agency. We also have the military, the Nigerian Army, the Nigerian Navy, the Nigerian Air Force. We also have the DSS. We have the Nigerian Security and Civil Defense. We have the Immigration Service, the Nigerian Customs, Road Safety, the NIA, you know, a lot of federal agencies that are members of the Interagency Consultative Forum on Election Security. And apart from we are deploying jointly, because every polling station, we are going to see combination of police officers as well as officers of sister security agencies. Regarding the military will take more of the outer layer, as we having the police and the other agencies taking much part of the inner parts of the whole system. So we are deploying jointly, and we are collaborating together to ensure that this election goes on peacefully.
Political thuggery. There's an allegation from yesterday that a major politician and the candidate in the race says that opposition or some other political parties have camped their thugs who are not from here with the intention to foment trouble. And we know, yes, that the candidates have signed a peace accord. But yet we know that a lot of the times it is not the politicians themselves that commit the thuggery or the violence. They use their political thugs to be able to do that. Have you quieted the political thug in this state who a lot of people fear? Or are they on sabbatical now, or they are ready for tomorrow? Do you know where they are?
Okay, regarding the issue of political thugs, you will agree with me that in the past few weeks, there have actually been close to zero incidents regarding political thugs activities. And part of the deployments that we have done under the security framework we have includes, as we speak, we already have police officers of the Special Intervention Squad. That's also another unit, the Police Elite Squad, which I head, and the CTU, the Counter-Terrorism Unit. We have them manning all the roads that both inlets and outlets of Ekiti, all the road that enters Ekiti State, from Kwara State, from Kogi State, from Ondo State, and from Osun State. And the purpose is to put an eye on everything coming into Ekiti. As we speak,
the soldiers are in the perimeters. The military, they are in the perimeters.
I think I will allow the military
your agency is the lead agency. So you need to, you can be able to tell us how you have segregated the duties Because that's what we understand. The military.
That's just what I'm doing.
All right, sir. Well, they are supposed to be in the perimeters. Police are supposed to man the polling unit. Is that right?
Maybe you allow me to.
All right, go ahead.
To finish. Police will not only man. We won't just man only. You see, that's what I'm trying to explain. Multi-layered security approach. We're not just going to sit and man the polling units. There are certain layers. There are certain fortress you need to put in place before getting to this polling unit, which includes the roads that enters into Ekiti from the neighboring state. And as we speak, those roads, they have been adequately covered, and everything coming into Ekiti state as we speak, we are seeing them.
Real time,
physically, because we have the CTU and the SIS police officers on those roads. Yeah. Everything going out of Ekiti, we are seeing them. So I don't see the possibility of anybody bringing any sets of talk into Ekiti.
They said they're already here. They've camped them in the hotels.
By tomorrow, when the election process starts, then let's see if they are going to come out.
Can you guarantee, Mr.
Not.
Shogunle, that every voter, every eligible voter will vote freely, have their votes protected, and see the result determined by ballots rather than fear, money, or force? Can you give that guarantee?
You see, based on the security arrangement we have put in place, I can give that guarantee, or I'm giving that guarantee that every voter that wants to vote tomorrow, that nothing will happen to them. Nothing. They should come out and vote.
You see, this is why this.
And if anybody tries to come out to try our will, we will ensure that person face justice of the land.
Are we going to see your officers with armbands or headbands or dressed in a way that we need to? Because we've seen it has happened in Ekiti before, where special police and military that are alien, and the authorities couldn't even identify or identify this person, but they were brought in by politicians into the state to scuttle the exercise. Are we seeing you? How do we identify that this is a right police officer tomorrow? Are they going to dress normally, or they have a special armband, or they have their tags? How do we know that this is a fake police officer or an officer that is not supposed to be on duty?
Let me tell you something. As the Commissioner of Police in charge of this Ekiti governorship election, I can tell you authoritatively and confidently that I have a knowledge of where all the police officers that we are deploying in this state, where they have come from, where they are serving. And officers that are from the same state, we have deployed them at a particular local government. So if anything is happening in any local government, we can say that the police officers from this local government are from this state command. Apart from the police uniform, all police officers for this election will be appearing in the police camouflage. So tomorrow I'm going to appear in police camouflage.
The camouflage, not the plane, not the plane.
Not the black.
So everyone, if you don't see you in the camouflage, you are not supposed to be on duty.
Yes, for police officers.
What about politicians who own VIP protection?
I'll get to that now. Then, in addition to the camouflage, we have produced security tags for police officers. We have 4 colors of security tag. You know, we have 3 senatorial districts. So there is a particular color for each of the senatorial districts. So that means anybody wearing this color should not go out of the senatorial district where they have been posted. Then we have the red one, which is very few for people like me that would go around different local.
General,
yes.
Patrol. And,
yes. So we have that. Then we have made a press release, which we released yesterday, on the restriction of movements and restriction of vehicle movements.
From what time to what time?
It's starting 12 midnight today till 6 p.m. tomorrow. But let me state that there is an exam coming up tomorrow. So the students writing that exams, they are exempted. They can use vehicle to carry the students that are writing exams to go to their examination centers. Of course, there are certain documents they will have with them that will show that they're actually students and they are going for exams. So all students that have exams tomorrow, please go ahead for your exams. It is stated in there. Then we have also warned VIPs with escorts or guards that we will not allow them to go to their polling unit with their guards. We won't allow that to go around with their guards.
Tomorrow's election is not simply a contest between candidates or politicians or political parties. It is also a referendum on the credibility of Nigeria's electoral institutions. If Nigerians wake up on Sunday questioning the integrity of the process, would you consider that a failure of security even if there is no violence?
Based on the security approach that we're using, we did this in Anambra November last year. For the very first time in the history of Anambra State, the election was concluded in one day. There was no, run over for the very first time. For the very first time we had election in Anambra, there was no gunshots. November last year. For the very first time in Anambra State, we had a peaceful election, a non-violent election. And all this happens because of the strategic planning we put in place.
And it's the same leadership team that governed that?
Different theoretical framework, because the situation in Anambra is different from the situation in Ekiti. It's about understanding what the situation is and putting in place the strategy you want to use in solving the situation.
Can you promise us that the police will not be partial tomorrow?
From the beginning, we have not been partial, and we will not be partial. So police is neutral. And even members of the public, when your reporters go out, I don't know what question they have been asking members of the public, because as we speak, which we have also confirmed from the CSOs, voters in Ekiti State as we speak have given the security agencies high confidence, vote of confidence. They have confidence in the security that has been provided, and that is why a lot of people say they are coming out to vote tomorrow. And I foresee we having a higher voter turnout in Ekiti State tomorrow compared to what we've had in the past.
All right. Before you go, let me take you to the screen. There is a concern about the mapping. Please, if you can proceed, sir. There's a concern about the mapping, and there are those who are worried about what the hotspots and whether or not there are a lot of attention. And these are the hotspots as we have identified: the Kole Oye, Ishoridosi, Ekiti East, and Moba. And if you look at the hotspots, they are mostly in the border local government areas. What can you tell us about this mapping?
You see, that's why, at the opening, I told you about the different layers that we are putting in place. In these border areas with Kwara, with Kogi, a lot of the incidents are even happening outside the state. And, it's a natural thing, fear that when something is happening close to you, you have that fear that it might come into your own territory. But as we speak, we are putting in place the first layer of this multi-layered security approach. Starts from all these bordering towns, especially the ones with Kwara and Kogi State. We are not expecting much from the borders with Osun State, for instance. Even Ondo, because of the proximity to Edo as well, and some part of Kogi State, but unlike Osun, the border with Osun, we are not actually expecting much there. So we've taken care of all these border areas, including the highways and as well as the forests. In all these places, we have police officers that are camping in these forests. just to prevent anything from coming into Ekiti State. So all those have been taken care of. Our risk assessment also shows some of the things that has been indicated on this map.
But not only the hotspots, is also the key battlegrounds where when the contestation is going to be hot. Ikole, Ado-Ekiti, Oye, Efon, Ido-Osi. These are areas that the contest is going to be, and we might not see the kind of violence that can erupt or the kind of criminality that can come up in some of these hotspots might be election related, but some of what we see here might be non-election related. So what is the attention you are giving in that area, in some of these areas? Ado-Ekiti, Kere, Ikole, Ido-Osi. These are heavily voter populated areas.
You see, part of the things we want to achieve now or in this election is that we want this election to be violence free. And steps that would make this election to be violence free are already being put in place. And that informs the kind of deployments we are having. We are having deployments that will serve as deterrents, and we are having deployments that will also serve as counter measures. So we've taken note of all those hotspots and what will prevent any ugly incident from happening, which has to do with deployment and response. We are putting them in place.
Mr. Bayami Shogunle, I've held you for far too long, but many thanks so much indeed. I appreciate your time. And I wish you and your team the very best.
Thank you.
In case you need any assistance in terms of getting the information out, we are here to support you and make sure that you succeed. Mr. Bayami Shogunle is the Commissioner of Police in charge of election security. But many thanks for being with us tonight. But we take a break, everyone. When we return, so much more I've got packaged for you. It's a bumper show edition of Politics Today on China's television, focusing on the Ekiti governorship election. As we told you, it's going to be a litmus test. We're using this election to let you know what you need as a voter and a citizen to pay attention to as we enter into a critical phase in our democratic development as a people. We'll be right back with so much more. Disinformation, misinformation, rumors and lies. We will dispel them right here on the program. And we've got more on election security as far as Ekiti governorship election is concerned. We'll be right back, everyone.
Wherever we go, we carry the taste of home with us. Because, as everyone knows, it's never just food. It's moments shared and memories made. And no matter where we are, it's the things we share that keep us together. Remitly, every transfer brings you closer.
Our website, channelstv.com, has more information on our top stories and others. Subscribe and watch Channels Television's live stream on YouTube and other social media platforms using your mobile device browser, or download the Channels TV app for Android and iOS devices from their respective stores. You can also watch us via your smart TV platforms on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Channels Television, ubiquitous.
Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the special edition of Politics Today on Channels Television. It's a continued coverage of Ekiti governorship election. It's the eve of the election. Our attention is being on security, and we will continue. I'm now being joined by the Executive Director of Impact Initiative, Mr. Bukola Idowu, to give us an understanding on their documentation reporting and how to mitigate election violence. They've done a pre-election security analysis, and Mr. Idowu is here for us live to give us an understanding. Thanks so much, Mr. Idowu, for joining us.
Thank you very much.
How have you been?
Fine, fine. It's good to be here again.
So you've been on the ground with you and your colleagues at Impact?
Yes, we've been on the ground, let me say, for the past 6 months.
Wow.
Yes, but we came fully. We've been on the ground monitoring the pre-election environment in terms of election security and those risk factors that we have been able to identify. And then we also came in fully on ground now, and we are here till after the elections.
Interesting. Let's jump right into it. I know you, your organization has done a tremendous work in mapping and doing a pre-election observation and analyzing the situation. Let's get into your security mapping that you have done. First, you are looking at the total number of incidents versus the resulting fatalities, and you've done a real good job in trying to give us a graphical representation of the total incident and the total fatalities. What did you discover?
So basically, one of the things we have done is that we started tracking since October last year, and one of the things we have seen in terms of violence is that the violence in Ekiti looks dynamic in a way that you have criminal activity and then you have election violence. However, both of them run parallel. There is no place of convergence between both of them. And this is what I mean. When you see criminal case that happen, maybe kidnapping, it has nothing to do with election violence. It has nothing to do with the election. But election violence also happened on its own. But to put numbers to it, we've been able to document 15 cases of election violence and 2 cases of fatality. And that is since October 2025 till June, till date. And that is what we have been able to identify. However, that is election violence. But we know that election violence is different from general violence, non-electoral violence.
Day-to-day criminality.
Day-to-day criminal activity.
Yeah.
But day-to-day criminal activity is also almost the same as it is, but with a higher magnitude of impact that we have seen in terms of banditry, also in terms of kidnapping. And so
there's been kidnapping in the state.
Of course, there have been kidnapping in the state, basically 2 local governments, Ikole and then Moba local government. And interestingly, those 2 states border Kwara and Kogi. So we have that in that particular axis.
So the non-electoral violence, you've identified 11 and 1 fatality.
Yeah.
In that.
Yes.
And so there are more activities or more violence and fatality in election related in the last 6 months. That should give us concern.
Yeah, it should give us concern.
That if the normal day-to-day violence or crime is less in number to election related, that means that the police or security agencies need to really sharpen their lenses and ensure that
absolutely, because you see, when it comes to election violence, is periodic. You know, it comes during that time of election, and that is why it could come in full force. It could come in a higher magnitude, and that is one of the things we have seen. Then again, electoral violence also move. When you look at the graph of election violence, most times it moves higher when the electoral event gets nearer. So what am I trying to say? You can see the graph growing when you are moving towards party primaries, for instance, and then when you are moving towards the commencement of campaign, now it can come down, then but when you now begin to move closer to the election day, it keep going up. And basically, it's something to call for concern for.
So you've done the mapping, and if you look at it, you've done it based on the map. You've shown us electoral violence dominant local government areas, the non-electoral violence criminal dominant local government area, then the balance, the mix of the threat profile, and Ikole seems to be and Maba seems to be in the red. These areas are prone to this violence from the mapping and the data you have shown.
Absolutely. So that is what the data is saying, because when you look at the factors that we have to look at, there are about 5 factors we put in place, and about 6 electoral pressure factors that we put in place in terms of the presence of criminal activity, in terms of the possibility of the potential of INEC operational lapses. Then you also look at the actual history of violence in that particular place. You look at the critical factor in terms of possibility of intimidation and coercion, and then you also look at things around what we call, I think in the last presentation we talked about the battleground. And the battleground is not battleground because a politician come from, or a contestant come from that particular place. You have to look at the number of votes they carry in that particular place. You have to look at the number of registered voters, then PVC collected. You also have to look at in terms of the previous voter turnout in that particular place. For instance, when you look at the map, Ado is a bit moderate, because one of the things you are going to see is that when you come to turnout, Ilejemeje that have more registered voter, little or the least registered voter in the previous election have higher turnout. And so we are now going to look at what exactly do we put in place. But so when you put most of these factors in place, then MOBA and the Equality stand at a high risk, very, very high risk area.
Let's look at the trend of violence. And one thing that comes out to me is that in March, there is a spike. Yeah. What do you think is the reason for the spike in terms of the trend of the electoral violence?
So when you look at that March, that is the time that you have party primaries.
Oh.
So you have party primaries March and April, and then, so it is not the governorship party primaries, but the party primaries around the state house of assembly, party primaries around senatorial election, senatorial seats, house of rep, the national assembly, then the presidential, don't forget the presidential primary was also like a direct primary. So you have more electoral activity in Ekiti, that
around
March.
that period.
Yeah.
And that's so we look at the trend of the non-electoral violence, and it was in October and December that we saw a spike, and there is a trend that subsists from January up until now. Yeah. Well, every other month there seems to be one violence or the other.
So that tells you that, look, so when you look at from that October to December, one of the things you see is that around that time, those are the times at which kidnapping took place, the time at which some bandits came in and disallowed some farmers to do their work. And in fact, as we speak now, there are still people in them that were kidnapped in a particular local government at a church, and they are still, recently they came out to protest. So that was the time. But however, 1, 2, 3 incidents around that particular time. Mm-hmm. Now, it looked like attention has been drawn to the state, and then security agencies also beef up their activity a little bit. So you now see it going flat. And that is what we have seen.
Give us an understanding, the records of the electoral violence across the LGA. Is that something we need to be worried about in Ado-Ekiti, which has seen more of, and it seems about 80% of the entire violence that we're seeing in the entire state?
So, what this data is telling us is that to date, this is the situation of things. That it's this is what has been happening. The total number of election violence, Ado-Ekiti carried the highest, of it.
And two people died.
2 people died in that incident. So, but the other question is this, because you may not also, and that way, if you look at the map too, Ado-Ekiti was not also posed as a hotspot area, but because on election day, as we move closer to the election, of course, when you look at the police deployment, we've seen their men on ground, and I think the CP also said it. Now, those drone command center, the DSS, the civil defense, all of them, they are in Ado. And so one of the things you're going to see on election day is that, the place might be a little bit peaceful, because of the magnitude of the deployment you are going to see at that state capital, you know. But the major point is you have to now look at those border towns.
Yeah.
You have to look at some of those places identified. But when you look at what the record is saying, then, you know, we said, 15 electoral violence. That's just to tell you that 80% of them happen in Ado-Ekiti.
But, I mean, even the non-electoral violence, Ado-Ekiti seems to be, and the usual suspect, Moba, Ikole, they're there. Ado-Ekiti is still carrying the day with a more fatality, more violence. Even these are non-electoral violence more than the rest of the local government areas.
Yeah, so and when you look at non-electoral violence, you know, is the violence, and we are not talking about, just election alone, but when you look at in terms of the numbers of non-electoral violence. So, for instance, riot, mob attack, and some other stuff, you still have more in the city center. And that is one of the things that should worry us. And at the same time, because we are even saying, you are going to have a more deployment in Ado-Ekiti, that still does not tell us that we should fold our hands, because it's a fragile piece.
Who are the perpetrators of this violence? What is the data telling us?
So when you look at election violence, then you have perpetrator to be party members, you have party thugs, and then you also have hoodlums, and then those are the kind of people that perpetrate the electoral violence. You know, more the party thugs, the party members, and then you also have those hoodlums. Now, this is disaggregated in a way that, look, party members are actually different from the party thugs, because you need to look at the difference. For the mere fact that I come to vote as a member of this particular party, you know, and then something happened, I decided to start fighting, then that does not still categorize you as a party thug. But these party thugs are the people that even have gone a bit higher to commercialize their activity. So they are like a mercenary that you can actually call and say, hey, go and disrupt that place. The opposition is winning in that particular place. So when you look at those kind of things, but at the same time, when you merge it together, if you decide not to separate it and put party members and the party talk together, is still the political class that perpetrates more of the electoral violence.
And the victims are usually civilians,
of course,
of which we're seeing 11 people that have been affected, victims of the electoral violence, party members. They kill themselves.
Yes.
But for the kind of or the forms of electoral violence, you've identified different: property destruction, intimidation, physical assault, harassment, kidnapping, and the rest.
So that tells you why Ado-Ekiti also look like they carry more of that in terms of that form of violence, because property destruction is a form of violence, you know. Intimidation, physical assault, harassment, these are the form of violence we have documented in Ekiti. Of course, murder, shooting, and then protest and verbal assault, including cyber attack. You know, these are all nation of what we have seen. There are people you even find online, you know, that they do this most of this cyber attack. Most especially, some of them, you call them data boys. They just go out to the extent that they can use misogynic languages. They can harass anybody, you know, online. So these are all forms of violence when it comes to an election. And we have recorded most of these for the past 6 months.
Yeah, in that 6 months, we have also seen the different forms of the non-electoral violence. But I'm also quite intrigued what you did with the electoral pressure profile, where you've color-coded the local government and what one needs to look at. But the pre-election hotspot map is interesting. Can you explain what exactly the pre-election hotspot map, the color code, and what these, how you came about?
Okay, so when you look at the electoral pressure map, which we can't display now, maybe for some reasons, now, it breaks each of the components. There are about 6 components there. You see the criminal, the political, the operational, the information, and the cohesive and social. Now, those things are disaggregated. So in that pressure map, one of the things we have done is to say, look, when you are looking at coerciveness, when you are looking at intimidation, these are places
that you need to watch out for.
Watch out for. However, when you now look at that map, the pressure map is now to now pull everything together and say, hey, look, when you pull everything together, represent it in map. As you can see, look at the pressure map. When you look at it in terms of criminal, mobile is leading. In terms of political is high. In terms of operational is medium. Information disorder is medium. Coerciveness is high. And then when you look at the social, it's medium. So when you look at put everything together, you come to that map that now shows mobile. Still the high risk area. When you now look at the color coding, you look at equally very high in terms of that pressure. And that is one of the things you need to see. But of course, there are places like Ekiti, Southeast, Bonyi, and Iserun. Most of these places are a bit, are going to, less hotspot as we can see.
Mr. Bukalaido, we thank you for this work. Now, it gives us an idea of what to watch out for and what security agencies to do or what they need to do more. Even the voters need to now start thinking of where to move to, where not to go, and what to do. But thanks so much indeed, Mr. Bukalaido, the Executive Director of Kimpart Development Initiative. Thanks so much indeed. I appreciate
Thank you so much.
Hope to see you tomorrow after all of the work. Let's see what of this mapping.
We now need to assess.
Absolutely.
The police have deployed, so let's now assess the deployment.
The deployment and all of what they said we will do. Well, we'll take a break and we're getting into the final lap. This time around, I've got a lot of disinformation and misinformation going on in Ekiti State. We've arrested a few of them and we are going to dispel and tell you whether they are right or not. We've got an association of fact checkers. They are on the ground. And one of the senior officials of that organization will be speaking with me after this break, everyone. Join us again. Thanks so much, everyone, for staying with us right here on the special edition of Politics Today live on China's television. I'm Sean Wakimaloe for you here. We're on the last lap of this program just before we go to the top of the hour when the news at 10, China's television's flagship news will come up. Well, this is a very crucial aspect of this program. A lot of rumors, lies, misinformation, and disinformation. Yes, there is a difference between misinformation and disinformation, of course. If you mistakenly or you gave a wrong information, that might be misinformation. But if you intentionally wanted to confuse or to dissuade or to give out false information deliberately, that's disinformation. And they have a lot of effect on the electoral process. And a lot of that has been happening. So what makes this election very interesting is also that we've got a league, a coalition of fact checkers, and they're here. I have one of the senior officials of that association, and in fact, it's the country director of Africa Check, Mr. David Ajikobi, is live for us. Thanks so much, David, for joining us.
Thank you very much for having
on
me.
this end. You've discovered quite a lot, isn't it? Since getting on.
It's been a very interesting day, actually.
Yeah. But how much of misinformation or disinformation do you think get into our election?
I think that for context, if you look at what I've been covering elections since 2011. So as at 2015, 11, it wasn't a big deal. In fact, as at 2019, we now decided to add it to our peace accord. In 2023, it became a very big part that even INEC said we are worried about this problem.
Yeah.
And now even in this election today, you see that when the peace accord was signed, the third line was about disinformation and misinformation because it affects the conduct, the results, the process, and even the aftermath of the elections. Mm-hmm. If you remember what happened in some parts of the north where we had a lot of post-election violence, it was based on what people were saying about the number of votes cast, mm-hmm. Number of or the actors involved in that process. So we have seen evidence from way back that it is a big problem for democracy, it's a big problem for our elections, and we think we need to have an intervention.
Well, I mean, you said you found out quite a few of that. This is has gone viral.
Yes.
And I mean, it read that ahead of Ekiti state governorship elections slated for June 20, some people have started collecting food items from politicians. Remember, bandits won't collect food items and 5K as ransom when insecurity hits you. Even those politicians bribing you right now won't rescue you. Hashtag Oyekotiye or something.
Oyekotiye.
Yeah.
Yes.
Jesus wept. 1 kg semo, no, they said to bandits. This was the picture, right? That you found out.
Yeah, that went viral. And the idea behind this is that whoever posted this was being, was trying to manipulate people's sentiments. That's people are now collecting this. But you use this particular photo. And we as fact checkers from the Nigerian Fact Checking Coalition, we do narrative mapping, but we first look at the picture. Where did this come from? Is this true? Is this related to Ekiti, for example? Yes. Don't forget that the concept of stomach infrastructure actually came from
stomach infrastructure.
In 2014 from
and the Boko Sebe.
Yes,
is a very popular one here too.
So you can imagine that this keys into that narrative. And for people who are in diaspora, or even who are at home here, it can create some narrative that is not. So if you look at the debunk that we did, this picture is actually true. But it was taken in June 19, 2026, and it was about Oyo. It had nothing to do with Ekiti. So that is one of the markers of what we're seeing in the Ekiti elections now, that we are going to be seeing old videos and old pictures from different places that will be brought into the election from today into tomorrow.
So this was taken, not even this year.
At all. If you look at this was taken by people who were showing their support for Sharafa Ali, an APC politician
in Oyo
State.
Yeah. And not related
to nothing whatsoever. Yes.
So people need to be very careful.
Absolutely.
So
absolutely.
I mean, that's an example, and I know in the coming days we'll probably need to find out more on what exactly.
Yes.
But I mean, you've identified the different kind of disinformation to watch out for. Can you give us an idea of what we need to watch out for? You say 8 of them.
Yes, absolutely. So the idea behind this is that we have covered off-cycle elections. As Nigerian Fact Checking Coalition, we have covered the main elections. When I say, okay, look, we now know, we have a typology of the kind of disinformation people should look out for. Remember, apart from debunking, we're also doing narrative mapping. We're also doing what we call media information literacy. Yeah. We've been doing that. In fact, if you had come to the situation today, you see that we're actually pushing out content even in Yoruba language. So the first one, which we saw today with the SDP candidate and the ZLP candidate, is fake candidate withdrawal, right? Where they will say candidates have withdrawn to support.
They say SDP candidate withdrew, and there is a statement to say it's a lie.
Thank you very much.
Withdrawn.
So definitely that party is going to be on the ballot tomorrow. Yeah. Violence images of out of context, like I've told you before, earlier ones. Yeah. Fake voter card reports. You remember that in one of the off-cycle elections, they said they had bought voter cards from people days before the election, which was not, we had recycled vote buying videos, fake endorsements, false claims about BVAS. This is actually very problematic because when you say that the BVAS is faulty,
it's not working.
It's not working.
Agitates the mind.
Yes.
Even some people will not leave their home. Once they go on social media, BVAS is not working.
That leads to what voter apathy. Remember what you were talking to Samson about, that we do not want voter apathy. We want people to go out. But if you have claims that if you get there tomorrow, there might be a lot like BVAS is not working. So you can imagine people will sit at home. Then we have narratives about candidates, that this person is this, whatever it is. And this for us is very important because we see a lot of diaspora people who are sharing certain narratives about different candidates. And don't forget that the diaspora population also has a very direct effect on what is happening.
Absolutely.
Here. Yes.
And they are heavy users of social media.
Absolutely. And your part of them all is the fake election results.
And which we're likely to see a lot.
Absolutely. In 2015, in fact, what we saw was that people wrote election results on paper, put INEC logo, JPEG'd it, and started spreading it on WhatsApp. But now it's a bit more sophisticated, and we are available to debunk them.
Yes. So, I mean, you are one of the things that I think is also key is to educate our viewers tonight to say, when you see it, how do you identify, what do you do? You say, before we post or share, you should ask yourself these basic questions.
Fantastic.
Who posted it?
Yes.
Can I verify it?
Absolutely.
Does it trigger strong emotions?
This is very important, yes.
Because most of these pictures are to trigger some emotion and a reaction.
Yeah, because it actually keys into our confirmation biases.
Yeah.
If you go on social media, on X today, one of the narrative mapping we did was that people are now beginning to say, Ekiti people, and which is not particularly, and then the other one is the image or video authentic and could be a hoax, yes.
Yeah. So there are a few more things, there are quick verification.
Yes.
So how do we verify the information that we see? Because there are a whole lot of them, right?
Absolutely. So the first thing is to pause, right? This is a very, very emotional period for most people. The political process, and we want accountability, we want to vote a governor, a new governor, whatever it is. Please just take it easy. Pause, because if you post the wrong thing or an incorrect thing, it could lead to violence and people could actually die.
Search the
claim, yes. Yeah. Is it true? And then, in these days of AI, for God's sake, it's made it easier.
How do we confirm that?
Yes.
How do we reverse the image search? How do we check officials? For example, how do we fact check a picture?
Thank you. That's a very good question. So, for example, for a reverse image search, many of us will get our images from WhatsApp and all of that. Just save that picture. Go to Google and load that picture on Google. It will show you where that picture has been used before. So, for example, the first picture we use, if you are just taking that picture, download it from your WhatsApp, take it to Google, right? It will show you that it's been used in Oyo. That means you wouldn't share it.
Yeah. All right. So how we use AI to tackle, and there are many ways that you have identified.
Absolutely, yes.
AI, yes, you can use it to disinform or misinform.
Absolutely,
You can also use it to verify, for verification.
Yes.
And this we can do.
Yes.
And I know that it's easy to get across to Africa Check
and the coalition,
and the coalition is also working on some of these. But then I know you will find out so much more tomorrow. But this is a very, very important aspect of our program tonight. But I want to sincerely thank you, Mr. David Ajikobi of Africa Check, and is also one of the leaders in the coalition of fact checkers who are here for the election. Many thanks, David, for your time. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. We hope to see you tomorrow.
Yes,
after you fact checked so many. I know there will be a whole lot of that happening. Well, many thanks, everyone. That's just about it tonight, everyone. But it's not over yet, isn't it? Because tomorrow I'm going to be here on this screen, digging a whole lot for you, because the results will be coming, and we're going to be punching by local government as the results coming. We're going to be opening the studio late night for the election night result coverage at 7 p.m. But as early as 7 a.m., Channel Television will be live on the field, showing you how the election is going to be monitored and covered for you. We're on the ground, and our reporters are across the different political polling units and the local government areas. And I'll also be there for you to lead my colleagues in this coverage. That is very important to test whether INEC is ready, whether or not the votes we can, and the transparency of the process. This is a big deal for us as an organization, Channel Television, and we're partnering with Yaga Africa, with ERAD. The technology will work. Your vote will count. Will you be counted at the end of the day? Thank you so much, everyone, for watching. I'm Sheung Okimale. On behalf of all my colleagues, we want to say join us tomorrow again, and let's do it. And at the end of the day, let's see who wins this very important election. That's our bit tonight on the program. Stand by for the news at 10, which comes up on the top of the hour. I'll see you tomorrow. I'm Sheung Okimale. God bless Nigeria.